episode of Kitchenrule at home. Today it's all about dough. I feel like dough senses fear. So if you approach it confidently, it really is super easy and it's a great thing to know how to work with at home. We're making a basic dough, so very easy ingredients, no mixer required, everything is done by hand. And we're gonna be making like 3 different things. We're gonna be making an English muffin, a steamed bao bun, and a flatbread, which you can make like manaish with it. Anyways, lots of cool little ideas here and you can play around with it. So yeah, let's begin. So if you guys don't know, this is my first cookbook. I am not a chef. It's meant to be like really approachable. So today's recipe, there's a flatbread and a bao bun, and you find both recipes in my book. What I did is I combined the two. For the bao bun, there's some milk in the ingredients, and for the regular flatbreads, there's no milk. So I added some milk to the. Basically, I'm like morphing the two to create a really flexible and easy recipe to work with. So yeah, if you don't have my first book, I think it's sold out, but you can still find the ebook version. And I have my second book. I'll link it in the description down below. You're just gonna need some standard all-purpose flour, a bit of sugar, instant yeast, salt. That's our dry ingredients. And for our wet ingredients, we're gonna use a little bit of milk, a little bit of water, and a little bit of olive oil. All right, so to begin, all our dry ingredients in a bowl. Again, no need for a mixer. I like to use chopsticks. You can use a wooden spoon. I'm just gonna go ahead and mix this all up like that. So you want the sugar, the yeast. Make sure you're using instant yeast. So there's a big difference between instant yeast and active dry yeast. The thing is, with instant yeast, the granules are really tiny and small, so they don't need to be like bloomed in warm liquid to activate, whereas active dry yeast have bigger granules and you need to activate them in a bit of warm water or warm liquid. So I'm using instant, so the activation process is not required. We have our dry ingredients mixed here. I'm gonna weigh it for you just so you can have it in grams, that way it's really accurate. So this is just some milk, about a splash. I think it's about 20 grams, yeah. Yeah, exactly, 20 grams of milk. You can use yogurt if you'd like. And we're gonna go in with some olive oil, again, like a splash. Back to our water. We're gonna add about, I'd say like 200 grams of water. All right, let's go in with 200 and see how we are. So the thing is with this dough is it's, again, very forgiving. So if it's too wet, you can add more flour. If it's too dry, you can add more water. I like to go in with a chopstick first, make sure like all the flour bits have absorbed some liquid, and then go in with my hands. So see how this looks a bit too dry? We're gonna go ahead and add some more water. All right, and I think I'm gonna go in with my hands at this point. And why do I like to use a chopstick? The surface area is so small that the dough doesn't stick on it so much. But if you're using like a fork or like a whisk or a spatula, you're gonna get a lot of like dough stickage. So I feel like a chopstick is the perfect tool. Go ahead, go in with your clean hands. You're just gonna kind of scoop and fold. Like you're gonna scoop it from the bottom and fold it onto itself. Don't be afraid of getting your hands dirty. Like you can just wash it off, you know, so like don't make a big deal out of it. So I can see that the dough is actually looking really nice. It looks a bit sticky at first, but the more you knead it, the less sticky it's gonna be and the more it comes together. I'm gonna move this onto my surface. You actually don't even have to do this. You can just do it all in the bowl, but this is just gonna give me more room to knead. So I'm just gonna knead this for about 45 seconds to 1 minute until my dough comes together completely. And then we're just gonna let it rise until it's doubled. I think we're looking really good. You can obviously use a machine. If you have one, it'll make your life so much easier. But not everyone has one, so I wanted to show you how versatile and easy this dough is. All right, that's about it. It's not smooth, it's not like, but it's gonna be perfectly fine. Like, look at it. It's not gorgeous, it's not like a baby's butt. That's how they usually, I swear, they always say it should look like, resemble a baby's bum. But this is completely fine. You're gonna put this back in your bowl. You don't have to oil it, you don't have to flour it, it's completely fine. I just put it in here like this. Very easy. Cover it with a damp cloth or plastic wrap. My hair is all over the place. And you're just gonna let it rise until it's doubled. So here I have a towel that I've just slightly damped with water. And I'm just gonna cover it, oopsie, and leave it in the warmest place in my kitchen. That could be like the inside of your microwave. What I like to do sometimes is I turn on my microwave for about 30 seconds so it gets nice and steamy inside, then I put it in. So like you have a hot environment but not too hot where you might kind of bake your bread or bake your dough. So we're gonna let this rise for an hour or an hour and a half or two, depends on the weather, and we'll get back to it. So this is dough I've prepared earlier. It's doubled in size. Look at how nice and fluffy that looked. And as you can see, I told you it wasn't completely smooth, so when it rose, it wasn't completely smooth, but completely fine. It's still gonna result in something beautiful. It's sticky. It's sticky-ish, but if you just use some oiled or floured hands, it'll all be good. Okay, so that's our dough here. We're gonna be deflating this slightly. I need to get some flour, so my dough stops sticking. Because marble is such a good surface for dough, it's barely even sticking, and I didn't even add any flour. So also don't over add flour because that's gonna result in a tough dough. So we're gonna be making an English muffin, some steamed bao buns. Actually, let's do the steamed bao buns because those need to rise. Is there flour all over my face? You could weigh this and then divide it equally. I think it's gonna make you about 20 portions of dough, but we're just gonna eyeball it. So I'm just gonna make 2 steamed buns, and we're just dividing the dough. You want, I'll weigh it for you so you know approximately how much each bun weighs. So that's 76 grams, that's 90. Okay, so we'll just go with 75 grams for both. Perfect. You don't have to be too accurate. What we're gonna do is we're gonna flatten this, roll it into a ball. Not roll it, I like bundle it into a ball. All right, and then you have these gorgeous little buns that we're gonna be rolling out into a flat kind of sheet and then folding it onto itself. You know, I'm sure every restaurant is selling them now, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So these are our little bao bun dough. And we're just gonna use a floured rolling pin and like roll into, you want an oval shape because when you close it up, you want it to be a semicircle. You see all these little bubbles? That's a really good sign of fermentation. The dough is gonna wanna retract sometimes. Just use your hand to sort of pull it. And you can like test, like does this look good to you? That looks great to me. So that looks like a good size. And slightly oil one side like that. You don't need to make it too thick. I'm just gonna sort of drag it down. And then you're gonna fold it onto itself and put it on a piece of parchment paper. So I'm gonna repeat with the second one in case. Okay. It's looking really nice. Oiled brush, oil one side. By the way, this recipe is great for like filling stuff, like a in Chinese we call it a baos. So we fill it with meat, we fill it with veggies. It's delicious, and I'll film a video one day. So this is exactly what you're looking for. It's beautiful, it's nice and smooth. There's enough space for you to fill it with stuff once it's steamed. So we're gonna cover this with some plastic or a towel and let it rise. So far, we've made steamed bao buns that we haven't steamed yet, and now we're gonna move on to our English muffins. So this is just the rest of our dough. I'm just gonna take, I like to like kind of tear it off like that. And I'm gonna make 2 English muffins to show you again. If you want, you can weigh it. I'm not gonna I say I'm not gonna, and then I always end up weighing it. Just divide this in half. Again, you flatten it, all right? And then you bring it towards the center to create a very nice round shape. And that's really all you're looking for. And then we'll do the same with the second one. So flour your hands, press down like so, okay? Bring them all to the center to create. So why do we do this? We do this because later when we're gonna be rolling out the shape of our English muffin, it just makes it easier. So again, 2 dough balls. Now we're gonna slightly flour. Actually, for English muffins, I like to go, usually they use cornmeal, that's hard to find. So this is just some semolina that I've laid down here. You're just gonna put the portioned English muffin dough. You're just gonna squish. And we're just gonna go in with our rolling pin and sort of flatten it to the shape that we want. And you want it thinner than you think because it's gonna rise a second time. And then once we put it on our griddle, it's also gonna inflate. So I think this is a good shape for me. And again, if it's not perfectly round, that's completely fine. So I think I'm gonna stop here and then repeat with the second one. You're gonna let this rise for another like 30 minutes or so. I'm just gonna repeat the same thing with the second dough, let it rise, and then I'll show you guys how to cook it. So this is our English muffin that's risen. I'm gonna show you, I made this earlier. So look at the difference. Look at how, can you see how jiggly and fragile this is? Should I bring you to the sun here, Basil? Like this is so airy and light compared to this. This is like dense. So this is gonna become this in 30 minutes. To cook this English muffin, you're gonna use a pan. I have a nice cast iron that retains heat really well, so that's what I'm gonna use. And I just wanna dip it once more in cornmeal. This is so, like, it feels like a pillow. It's so nice. We're just gonna put this on here, and you're gonna griddle this for about, I would say, 2 to 3 minutes per side. So while that's going, I'm gonna show you how to make a flatbread slash menaish. So let's push this aside. You can get rid of all these crumbs, but they're actually really yummy, so I'm not going to. Again, we're just ripping part of our dough that we've used here. I'm only gonna make one for the sake of time. Again, flatten, should be like experts by now. Bundle into a nice ball, and then we're gonna roll it out into our menouche or flatbread. Okay, it's a bit sticky, so flour your rolling pin. I'm just gonna roll this pretty flat. So I've rolled it out pretty thin. I like to stretch it like I'm making pizza, just because I like my flatbreads thinner. So you go by what you like. And I have a really hot pan over here. We're just gonna lay this on the pan. If you've watched my one pot chicken stew, I show you guys how I make flatbreads there. But today we're gonna be making a menouche, which is like a Lebanese flatbread with cheese on the inside. So this pan isn't as hot as I want it, so I'm gonna move it to my cast iron. That should be hotter. And while that's doing its thing, I'm also going to be showing you our English muffin. So I think, oh, look at that. How pretty is that? So that was about 3 minutes, and then we're going to give it another 3 minutes. So I'm having a little issue with my fire, but this is what you want it to look like, where you're going to place the cheese and stuff. So I'm going to do a cheese. So this is just some mozzarella cheese. Ideally, you'd use akawi, but I don't have any. And we'll do some za'atar. You can do za'atar mixed with olive oil, but I don't really think it needs it because the cheese sort of binds everything. So our cheese is starting to melt. So what I'm gonna do now is go ahead and fold this in half, like so. It's very hot, don't use your bare hands. And then flip it. Look how cute. Isn't that an adorable menouche? Look at that. Oh! We just want the cheese to melt fully, so I think that looks good. We're gonna turn off the heat. It's beautiful, it's cheesy, and it's a great thing to know how to make at home. So this one's done. I kind of burnt it because I was going on and on about the manouche, but it's fine. We're gonna take this off and set it aside and move on to our steamed buns. So these are our bao buns. I've let them rise for about 15 minutes. You can let them rise for more. And we're just gonna place them into our steamer. That's one, that's two. And we're gonna let these steam for about, I'd say like 12 minutes, but then we're gonna turn off the fire and leave it steaming for another 3 minutes without any fire, like with the residual steam that's there. So it's been 12 minutes, I turned off the heat, I let it settle for another 3 minutes. And now, woo! They're so cute and fluffy, look at them.
Yum.
They can be a bit thinner, so note to self, next time roll them out a bit thinner, but they're great, look at that. Look how fluffy. We'll break into one once it's not as hot and like it's not gonna burn my hand. So look, got manouche, a bao bun, an English muffin, and a flatbread. There's so many other things you can do. I just want to break into the cheese manouche just to show you how, so hot. But look at that. Look at all this cheese oozing out. Let's open it up and show you again. Look, that's like glorious. I'm gonna have a bite. On weakness. Like bread, cheese, and fried stuff. Like my weakness. Delicious. Yeah, really tempted to try this. You know what's funny? It tastes completely different. Like this is airy. I don't know if you can see how many holes and light. And it's soft, but the semolina gave it like a really nice crust. Delicious. It's just basic flatbread. Great for dips. What you could do is fill this with shredded lettuce, a fried chicken, and like some chili oil, and it's like beautiful. Or you can add a fried egg into this, or Nutella if you want. But I also want to break into it and show you. It looks like a cloud on the inside. And note that we did this all by hand, no mixer required. Can you see the crumb? It's so tender and soft. In Chinese, it's called mantou. So an empty steamed bao bun is called a mantou. And when I was a kid, that's all I'd buy. It's delicious. I'll see you guys next week. Next time, not next week.